Credits are rolling. Enjoy the ride off. Well, welcome to Extreme Calorie Burner 2 tour of the high desert, and we're rolling along in beautiful Reno, Nevada. This is a really nice route that I put together, or a ride I put together, and every week I'd have a Wednesday ride. It's about 40 miles, and I called it the Cold Stone ride because they just opened up a Cold Stone in Sparks. We were real excited about it. Now there's like 8 of them. But we're just rolling down here on a road called Mayberry, heading east away from the Sierra Nevadas, right behind us. And this is a nice flat road, a little bit downhill, but we're just gonna get our heart rate into the aerobic zone, and without pedaling too hard. Just keep that cadence right around 80, 85. And we'll just keep working it until our heart rate slowly comes up to the indicated 74%. Well, as you can see from the hill profile on the top of the graphs there, that's the top graph. Now we got a little climb coming up. It's about 1,000-foot climb. We're not going to hit it too hard, but hard enough to get our heart rate into the red. And you can see just below the hill profile the heart rate indicator, and that gives us a nice preview of what's about to come. And you'll notice that as the climb begins, our efforts lift into the red zone. Now we're going to max out, well, about 92% of max is the hardest we're going to go. So this ride it's not too tough. The first disc here is probably the toughest. And then the second DVD is real gentle. So this is a real nice way to, get your body ready to work and ready to burn some fuel. So we'll be talking a little bit about burning calories and heart health and a bunch of fun stuff. So let's just keep that cadence easy. And actually, on today's ride, we have a guest with us. Not on the audio, unfortunately, but riding with us in the video. And she's a client. And we were just going for a nice leisurely ride. Wanted to get some miles on. She did awesome, even though this is a fairly tough route. So she'll pop in and out of the video. And there'll be a few places where I'm going a little faster than her, so we have to take a few breaks and rests to allow for a catch-up. So you'll notice the gear ratios are actually kind of high on this workout, but we're keeping the cadences lower. And so we're really just focusing on a nice warm up here. It's a nice long warm up. And when we get to the UNR campus, it'll get a little tougher. So let's just lift that effort up a little bit, and we'll get our heart rate into the higher 70s. This is a great ride in August. It was kind of warm, but it was beautiful. And so right underneath us on this bridge is the Truckee River. Be off to our right now. So now let's up our resistance a little bit. And we're actually working our way into downtown Reno. This is a really pretty part of town. A lot of people think Reno is just a gambling town, and yeah, there's a lot of gambling. But you know, there's a lot about the city that a lot of people don't know. It's got a lot of beauty, great outdoor recreations. They revamped the river here downtown and turned it into a kayak park. And on the way back, we'll actually ride through downtown. And you get a look at the renovations and restorations they did in the central business district. And coming to a stop sign, so you can lighten up the resistance. And really, let's just emulate this ride. Make it feel like we're on a nice weekend ride. Beautiful sun. Roads aren't too horribly busy. So when we come to stoplights, we take off some resistance. And when we leave this stoplight, let's add on a little extra resistance as though we're actually starting and stopping from a standstill. So pile on some resistance here. And accelerate, get our speed up a little bit. And then let's drop our resistance down so that we're back into a nice relaxed spin. And we're starting a little climb out of here, and it's going to get steep for just a short period of time. I'll let you know when to throw on a lot of resistance. So it really just jumps up at you. And we're going to get out of the saddle and hustle up to the top. So let's pile on some resistance here, get our speed up. Fun with gears. And lower it. You can see that little hill coming up there. Let's pop it in our big gear up front here. Get our heart rate up to 80%. It's getting steeper, so add some resistance. A little bit more. Right after this bridge, let's do a 10 out of 10. Come out of the saddle and get your butt up the hill. Right here, let's go. Out of the saddle. 10 out of 10. Pop it up. Making a right turn. Heart rate's lifting. And come back down. Take off from resistance. And flattening out. We'll start a descent here. Yeah, let's just soft pedal. Soft pedal or coast. Stand up, stretch it out. Let the heart rate slowly fall back down. Now, whether you're using this DVD as a recovery ride or as a ride for calorie burning, fat loss, weight loss, it's the principles are the same. And not enough people, I should say, or cyclists who have been playing the game for a long time. Little hill climb here. Not a lot to spend enough time in the green. We tend to, every time we go out, we just hammer and don't dedicate enough time to recovery. And recovery is just crucial to allow your body to function in the aerobic zone. Burn fat, burn calories, lose a little weight. So this ride is dedicated to that. And the beauty of this says that this first workout, or this first disc, Big gear up front. Got a little climb here. We're gonna get out of the saddle again and get up over the top. It's short. Again, the beauty of this disc is that, or this workout, is that we get our heart rate up, and our body knows that it's got some work ahead of it. And it starts actually drawing lots of nutrients and energy from cells as a result of the difficulty. And then as we get into the aerobic zone, that's when you just start really burning fat calories. So come on, 10 out of 10 here. Over the top. Now let's bring it down here. Rest a little bit. Another climb coming up. And these little interval sets here are just great for sparking the body into action. Big gear up front. Add some resistance, get ready to get out of the saddle. Here we go, let's go. Get back up to 90%, let's go. I'm doing this right along with you. Apologize for the heavy breathing, but I'm staying faithful to the workout, so I hope you are too. Take some resistance off. And here's a little tour of where we've just gone. Downtown. Here we are. Right at McCarran. McCarran is a busy road that goes around the entire city. Or we're almost at McCarran. Next stoplight. This is Virginia Street.
Downtown is the next one.
It's the main drag and turns into Highway 360. So this turns into a nice steady climb.
You're we're gonna pass the casino. What's the name of that casino? After you pass it, it's kind of open roady. And you're at a stoplight right before you get to 395. After a stoplight, it's West Virginia. Go west.
And we'll just be
Follow that road up to the top of the hill and there's a 7-Eleven.
raising up the rate here a bit, heart rate.
Take your time. I'm not going to go that fast. Once it gets steeper. Yeah.
What I want you to be aware of while you're riding, because this is a weight loss workout. Key to that is the duration of the ride. And if you get too tired and the workout becomes too difficult, where you have to quit after 30 minutes, there's not much benefit with respect to weight loss. You're still, even if that happens, you're still getting a good heart workout, so you're helping to build your cardiac muscle. And 30 minutes a day is really, it's all you need, or it's what the American Heart Association recommends. And if you can do 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, you're actually in the top 50% of fit people, or people who actually do that amount of activity. 50% of this country does not work out 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, 2.5 hours a week. So if you're just doing 30 minutes today, 30 minutes tomorrow, so on and so forth, and you keep that schedule up, you're at the top of your class already. But if you want to take the workout to the next level and actually use this to lose weight, then you have to put on saddle time. And this is getting a little steeper here. Heart rate's starting to shoot up. But what I was going to say is that the workout gets too difficult, and you can't complete the duration, then you need to lighten the load a little bit and go a little easier. There's a lot of studies about what level of exercise is required to lose weight. A lot of studies say zone 1 and zone 2. So if you're working out in zone 1, you're between 60 to 70% of your max heart rate. Zone 2 is 70 to 80%. We're at 90% right now, so we're entering into the red zone, which if you spend too much time up here, it's going to be hard to get those miles in to lose weight. But other studies, sorry, I'm having a hell of a time. Other studies show that high anaerobic levels, more intense activity, burns more calories. And there's truth to that. But you may not be burning the calories you want to burn. You want to be targeting carbohydrates, glycogen, body sugars, and when we're anaerobic like this, we're not. But what we're doing is shocking the system to actually put out more energy than the workout will demand when we actually lower the efforts. So there's a little more hill climb left. Not going to talk too much. If you're having a conversation, you're probably not working out hard enough. A little break here. This actually looks steep, but it's not. Don't forget to drink. Instead of your body using the water to create energy, burn calories, it's using it to sweat. And so, again, these higher efforts are not ideal for weight loss, but they are ideal for strengthening your heart and your legs so that you can keep pedaling, go further distances, and put more time on the bike. And that's essential for what we're trying to accomplish here. Slowly start increasing our effort here. Heart rate's going to go up a little bit, back up to 90-ish. Big gear up front. Nice climbing gear, between 70 to 80 RPM for your cadence. You should be really feeling positive resistance to your legs. If you're on a spin bike, the flywheel shouldn't be carrying your legs around. Take off some resistance. Then I'm gonna rest up to the light, or stoplight, or we're just gonna pedal a little easier, bring our heart rate down. When we make that left turn at the light, it's the steepest part of the entire ride. And we'll be shooting up to, I think, 94% of max. And then the efforts become a little easier and more gradual. Less interval. All right. Start going into bigger gear here. One click at a time. Should emulate the hill nicely. One click, 5 seconds. Ten out of 10. Let's wait for the out of the saddle character, because we want to really work our leg muscles here. Stay seated. Watch your cadence. Doesn't have to be that high. Just getting the pedals over at this resistance should get your heart rate up. All right, out of the saddle. Let's go. And back down. When you see the 7-Eleven, you're almost to the top, or you are at the top. at the 7-Eleven. Hill shallows out a little bit here. Just take a turn off of resistance. And then it gradually steepens up again. If you need to take a breather, pause the video right when we stop. Otherwise, just keep going. Here a flyover. That flag is Bonanza Casino. And we're at the top. So let's soft pedal it and get our heart rate into the aerobic zone. Use whatever gear you want. Just slow changes to our effort. No sudden starts and stops to make our heart rate do what we want it to do. Gradually work our way up to those higher efforts, and we'll gradually bring our efforts down to the target. Now we got a nice little break here. We'll pick it up slowly as we approach our next hill. No sudden changes in effort, but keep your eye on the gear ratio and the cadence. There's one interesting, one thing to clarify is that calories and fat are not the same. Just because you're burning calories doesn't mean you're burning fat. A calorie is simply a unit that measures heat output. And fat is a chemical compound. And as we're heating up, we're definitely burning more calories with the high anaerobic red zone efforts. But again, we're not necessarily burning a lot of fat doing that. Those high efforts are essential to training, but not for fat burning or weight loss. So understand that just because you're burning a lot of calories doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be losing weight as rapidly as a workout tailored for weight loss. And you'll always lose a little, but we want to lose it fast. Big ring up front. I'm going to slowly start a climb here. Getting that heart rate back up. Right now, at this heart rate, your body is working in the anaerobic zone. So you're not obtaining your energy from oxygen and blood glucose. Your body is producing a compound that is very efficient at releasing energy. And we call it ATP and adenosine triphosphate. So our muscles are burning this stuff for its energy right now at this level of effort. So it's not finding its energy in blood glucose or sugars, carbohydrates, which is ultimately where we want our body to be looking for energy. But we're burning massive amount of calories, or we're creating a lot of heat, generating tons of energy right now at this level of effort. We're going to have to generate a little bit more to get up this hill. And really, when you're cycling on the road dictates how hard you work. Other people dictate how hard you work. So if you're riding with a group, you may not be able to maintain that precise heart rate as if you're on a trainer or riding by yourself on a flat road. These hills force you into working harder, going anaerobic, make your body hot and sweaty. So, just a little while, we'll get to the top here, and the rest of the workout will be much easier, and we'll be in the aerobic zone for the majority of it. Well, let's just crank up this last hill. Get those legs working. Almost there. This isn't the summit, I don't think. Oh, maybe it is. It is. Yay. All right. Let's take off resistance. Drop it in your small ring. Bring up the cadence. Let's get our speed up. Get your leg speed up. And soft pedal, coast, tuck. Let's get our heart rate down. We're leading into a nice slow recovery. So let's slowly bring our heart rate down to the mid-70s. Nearing the end of this DVD, we've got one last little climb. You can see it at the far right of that graph. And after that, that's the last time you'll ever have to go into the red zone for the duration of this workout. And I really hope you can hang tight through both discs and not just walk away after the first hour and a half, because really that's that second hour and a half where you're going to be burning a lot of fat calories, and that's going to leave you feeling really hungry. And that's good. If you're hungry by the end of the ride, that's excellent. It means you drank enough water and you burned all of your food in your belly. If you don't feel hungry, chances are you just haven't drank enough water and you're dehydrated. So stay hydrated. You need that water for obvious reasons, but especially for maximizing your energy output and creating or allowing your body to be more efficient in burning energy. And there's just a little hill climb here. And what we're going to do here is just put it in a bigger gear, but we're going to keep our cadence pretty low, and we're only going to get our heart rate up into the 80s. I'm trying to set a pace that my friend can sustain. But it's hills are hills. So watch that cadence, about 65. Heart rate in the 80s. That black line is just a little behind the actual profile there. If you look at the both top and bottom, it'll catch up soon. The little yellow lump to the right of the black line is where we're at. If you can do all 3 hours, it's not quite 3 hours, 2 hours and 40 minutes on your trainer, you're doing really good. And not a lot of people can get this far. But cycling can be incredibly rewarding and fun, not just for the health benefits. So being proficient, getting good, getting strong on your trainer will allow you to get out there and feel confident on the road, have a lot more fun, be prepared for challenges, unexpected challenges. Let's lighten up the workload here. Gentle cadence, get our heart rate back down. If you're at 80% still, pedal a little easier. Soft pedal in your easiest gear. This may not be like your typical spin class, if you've ever been to one. Everyone seems to be pretty much a hammer fest and a pain fest and going balls to the walls. And those are incredible for conditioning, but it can be awfully intimidating if you don't have a foundation level of fitness. And really what we're doing by getting our heart rate into this nice comfortable zone 1, zone 2 here is we're making our bodies a more efficient machine, able to process oxygen, water, blood glucose, glycogen, and maximize the output of our heart. So you're doing your body good just by staying in zone 1, zone 2. Let's not forget to ride in these zones. You should be doing this at least once or twice a week. I mean, if you're gonna hammer and go hard and anaerobic every day, you're shortchanging your body from becoming a more efficient machine. This might be a good spot to just stretch out, stand up, soft pedal, rest your legs. We're going to lift the pace here in just a little bit. And this is actually kind of fun because we begin our nice descent down into I'm spacing on the name, pyramid. And so we want to, we're just trying to generate a little speed. So let's add some resistance. Slowly lift your cadence. And we're going to go back into the low 80s as a percent of max. As we lift our speed up. This might not be a bad place to get in your drops. Cut down some air resistance. We're gonna make our heart rate go up just by cutting off some of our airflow. So we get into drops. Lift that cadence. Tighten up your stomach, suck in the gut. Picking up the cadence a bit here. Let's stay aero. Stay in the drops. Lift your cadence. Take off some resistance. And get that speed up. Leg speed. Imagine a nice tailwind behind you. Move along about 30. Road is nice and smooth here, nice and fast. It's a beautiful view of the desert here. Sagebrush as far as the eyes can see. What's really special about this is if you ever get a chance to go off-road, there's some incredible diversity in the plants, foliage, a lot of animals, birds, lizards, snakes, in what seems to be a very barren area. Can really have some beautiful natural scape to look at. Got our cadence up, getting the last little bit of speed before we coast down to the bottom of this hill. And sit up. Keep that leg speed up. Cadence around 9,500. We're only slightly anaerobic. And we can coast here. Soft pedal. And we have a nice leisurely ride through the neighborhoods of Pyramid Valley here. We're going to keep our heart rate right around 74, 75 for the next 10 minutes or so. Keep the cadence around 80 RPM. This is a really, this area here, very new, modern, just built it. Got great roads, nice wide bike lanes. We're in, I think we're actually in Sparks out here. No longer in Reno. Usually this road here, we're faced with a terrible headwind. For some reason it's always right on our faces. Not too bad today. Really a no-wind day. I had a fun ride down here. One of these trucks started out with me at the stoplight, accelerated slowly. It was a horrible windy day. I was really dreading this stretch here. And the truck started out slowly at the light, got on the back accelerated pretty fast, so got out of my saddle. I was sprinting for all it was worth, and then he finally reached his top speed, and I found myself right in his draft, braking because I was being pulled in so fast. If I was getting such a strong push from behind, I'd actually was catching up to him, and I wasn't pedaling, so I'd have to brake, slow down. I'd coast right back up to his tail and brake, slow down, look down at my speedometer, and we were going about 45 miles an hour on this stretch. That was fun. For those of you who've seen the movie Breaking Away, you're probably nodding your head and go, oh yeah, I remember that. Old cycling movie. Came out in the early 80s. He was drafting the truck, and the trucker was throwing out his hand to tell him how fast he was going. Cars don't do that anymore these days. Why not? Oh God, another biker. Vroom. Reno has a really great cycling community. A lot of nice people. 2 big bike clubs, or main bike clubs. The Procrastinating Peddlers, and they're more of a social group and do the Sunday rides. And Wednesday rides, and they have their regular ride schedules. There's a link to their website on cyclingvideosonline.com. But if you're in the area, go on their website, find a ride, hop on. You'll have a great time. You'll be introduced to some beautiful routes. Nice people. And if you want to race, jump on the Reno Wheelman website. They have a race every Tuesday night, sometimes on the weekends. And you'll be surprised at the cycling talent out there. We get a lot of professional racers who come up here to train from California for the altitude, and also for the fact that there are some really strong guys out here who will push you. You got some Cat 1 riders out here, real friendly. A lot of strong experience. All right, we're almost to the start of that climb, and it gets a little steeper. We're definitely going to get our heart rate up into the low 90s. It's a short climb, but it's pretty steep. So let's reset our gears, start clicking away. So yeah, that link to the Reno Wheelman is also on cyclingvideosonline.com. Go into the I'm trying to think of the name of the page, I'm sorry. Not a multitasker. Go into the site index page. You'll find links. And here is the climb. Let's add some resistance. Let's get our heart rate slowly worked up here. Climbing cadence on 75. 70 to 80. Positive pressure on the legs. We won't be getting onto the saddle. Just gonna grind over the top. Don't let this part fool you. Get steeper. Keep that heart rate up. Almost up. You can see the top. Here it is. Get our speed up. Take off resistance. Get the cadence up a bit. And let the heart rate slowly drop. And now, soft pedal, coast. And let's use the remainder of this ride to warm down. You can see on the chart a little bit of orange, and I was just goofing around trying to get some speed out of the last few meters, but let's just stay aerobic here, stay in the mid 70s until we get to the end of this disc. And I really hope you will pop in the second disc and keep riding, because it'll feel really good. You'll feel very rewarded when you finish. You won't feel exhausted, even though you're maybe tired right now. You're gonna feel really good on the second disc, and you'll be very happy you did it in one session. Some really nice sights on the second disc as we head west, and we hit the Truckee River Trail, and it's a nice gentle ride. There won't be much for me to say, except maybe point out a few landmarks and maybe tell a few more stories. So, we'll see you on the second disc. Well, welcome to part 2 of Extreme Calorie Burner. We're here in Sparks, Nevada, cruising down not Sparks Boulevard. This is Vista. Anyway, this is about as far east in Sparks as you can get on the main road, and we'll be making a left turn here pretty soon and get into the suburbs. So let's just keep our pedaling cadence pretty mellow. The hard part was done in disc 1, and right now this is all pretty much recovery. And we'll be riding for a little over an hour. And we should have some fun. There's a little hill here. We can shift into a slightly bigger gear. And if you're still continuing from the previous disc, your heart rate should be nice and high. Should be easy to establish these heart rates that are set for you. If you're just starting out, work up to it slowly. Follow the gear ratios, cadence, until things start to level or even out a little bit. You'll notice the top graph is the hill profile. Not much of a hill, just a gradual ascent once we get into the valley. We'll be following the Truckee River bike path back into downtown Reno. And it's a real nice, even, mellow ride. That's great for recovery. We'll be spending most of our ride in zones 1 and 2, mostly zone 2, at in the mid 70% of max. And those red zones that you're looking at in the graph below the hill profile, those max heart rates are right about 80%, maybe 84 tops. So just a few little efforts. This is one of them right here. We got a little hill climb, so put it into a little harder gear. Keep your cadence up. Climbing cadence is good, between 70 to 80 RPM. Just watch your heart rate and just get it up to the target. This is a fast start if you're just starting disc 1, but if you've ridden disc or starting disc 2, if you already rode disc 1, these heart rates are really easy. They feel easy. And leveling out here. We're not doing real high cadences. We'll be right around 80 RPM for most of the ride. Don't forget to drink lots of water. This is a aerobic workout, so we'll be using water a lot. I want everybody to feel refreshed, hydrated by the end of this workout. You should feel hungry. Shouldn't be fatigued. Should feel pretty good, ready to go mow the lawn or clean the house, something like that, when we're all done. So I was doing some research, pulling out my old college textbooks on aerobic and anaerobic respiration, just so we could talk a little bit about that. And give you guys some ideas about how to train in those zones, but also what's the biological reaction to exercise. And in the previous disc, I was using a lot of generalization, so I figured I could be a little more specific, since this ride is pretty easy And I don't have to catch my breath too much. And that there is the view of the Sierra Nevadas. It's quite pretty. And those mountains are about 11 miles from here if we went straight west on Interstate 80. And let's see if we can see it. Peavine Mountain is on the right. We're just coasting here, soft pedaling. And we'll get going back to Vista, which is kind of a busy road. But it's a means to an end. Now, Peavine Mountain, if we can catch it off to the right there, there's a great mountain biking, some great trails up there. Well, we won't see it now, but maybe later. Really beautiful mountain. Not quite part of the Sierra Nevadas, but not completely separated either. So let's drive up the resistance here a little bit. And we're going to go a little harder because we don't like this road and we want to get through it as fast as we can. So let's up our speed, add a little resistance. We're going to drive our heart rate up to about 84%. So start adding some resistance. Vary your cadence accordingly. Between 80 to 90 RPM as we build up our speed here. See no shoulder, just painting the line. Try and stay nice and still on the bike, no rocking. Keep your hips still, keep your eyes focused. Try and keep your body motion to a minimum. Just keep those legs spinning, turning. Good bike handling, come on. Keep your upper body nice and still. And slowing up here. And we're gonna go grab some liquids at McDonald's. So just soft pedal. Bring the heart rate down. And we're coming up over Interstate 80. And into industrial, commercial, mostly industrial part of Sparks. And we're actually going to go straight here. And here we go. We're going to pick it up again just a little bit. Just to again get off the road and get to the bike trail, and we can settle things down a bit, just take it easy. So let's get ready to lift up the effort and start lifting. Get some speed, so we got to get into the left lane. Let's use a little bigger gear, so I don't want cadence shooting up too high. And let's drift to the left. And this is the start of the trail. Now the Truckee River Trail, for the most part, is the only trail in Reno that will actually get you from one place to another. There's a few residential trails, but Reno has this one path here, mostly for bike. Better on a mountain bike because it's a rough trail, a lot of roots, not well maintained. But it's pretty. In just a second, we'll have a flyover. Show you where we went. Here it comes. That's where we started at. Cruising through Sparks. Making that right on the commercial, and here we are. So let's just put it into a fairly easy gear, maintain a cadence between 70 to 80. Heart rate should be in the mid 70s. There'll be some only minor variations. You can follow all those or just set your own pace here. so that you're not going anaerobic or dropping much below the aerobic zone. So we'll keep in the green for the bulk of this stretch here. And I think I'd like to maybe talk a little bit more about aerobic versus anaerobic training, and be a little more specific about how each one of those has certain advantages and disadvantages to your health, fitness, power, endurance, so on and so forth. Because basically the body functions or produces energy exclusively by those two methods: aerobic metabolism and anaerobic metabolism. And the actual biological term for that is, or metabolism with respect to energy production through aerobic or anaerobic activity, is called catabolism. So I did look this up in my book. And basically the basic interpretation of both aerobic and anaerobic is that aerobic is catabolism with oxygen, the utilization of oxygen in order to produce energy, whereas anaerobic is without oxygen. Simply put, the body is producing energy without using oxygen as its output. Now, typically aerobic activities are low to moderate, pretty much what we're doing right here. Just a easy spin, maybe a walk, a brisk walk in the park will get you aerobic. And walking, it's hard to go anaerobic. We'll explain why that's important later. And obviously, if aerobic is light, moderate activity, anaerobic is higher efforts of activity, running, sprinting, maybe climbing stairs will get you anaerobic. But there's also a variable, which is time, that has to be met in order to become anaerobic. And you can't just run up the stairs, up one flight, and say, hey, I got my anaerobic workout. You have to do that for at least a minute, typically, before the body actually goes anaerobic. So basically both aerobic and anaerobic involve the compound called ATP and adenosine trisephosphates. And however, aerobic activity produces ATP, which is stored energy, and aerobic activities utilize blood glucoses, sugar, amino acids, carbohydrates, pretty much your food and fat cells, in order to produce ATP and store it in your cells. So this is where aerobic activity, like what we're doing, is beneficial to weight loss, fat burning, because right now our bodies are creating energy and putting it away for a later date in the form of ATP. And if we leave the aerobic zone and go anaerobic, that stored energy is then used to produce the energy required for anaerobic activity, those high levels. And I explained before that there's a limited amount of that fuel available based on your conditioning. ATP will burn itself up pretty fast, and so the only way to replenish it is to go back into the aerobic zone, spend some time there, and let yourself recover. So it's a cycle. It's called the Krebs cycle. Now when ATP is broken down through anaerobic activity, the byproduct of that is a waste. And most of the energy goes and leaves us in the form of heat. Some of it is also used to produce power and movement. And then what it can't use, just like burning a match, that's our waste. And the most common thing that we understand as a byproduct of that is called lactic acid. And that's when we start feeling that burn. But that burn is not a result of the lactic acid exclusively. It's a result of your muscles actually being damaged as a result of your activity, and then the acid, your blood acid, basically creates that burn in those in that muscle or damaged muscle tissue. So you need one to get the other. So the burn is not just lactic acids. And then when we go aerobic, we start flushing that out, or that waste basically goes to where it needs to go. And non-acidic blood is restored into the system as we're aerobic, and then that burn goes away. So it's interesting how our bodies have a mechanism built in to allow us to exercise and recover and maintain energy output for extended durations naturally. Because obviously, even if we want to go at 90% for 2 hours, we can't. And so our body, both runs out of energy and then hurts. It makes you hurt, and then you slow down to recover, to rebuild that energy. And when you feel better, you're ready to go again. It's important to note that aerobic activity is about 10 times more efficient than anaerobic activity. So in other words, there's less heat loss, and there's less waste produced, And the bulk of our efforts go into actually mobilizing ourselves in the aerobic zone. So we can keep this pace up for a really long time, cover greater distances, and get really healthy as a result. Whereas anaerobic, you go into that zone too much and you lose your will to live sometimes, and your body just runs out of energy and you can't go any further. It's kind of the tortoise and the hare scenario. But on the same token, aerobic activity does not improve strength. You might, you improve your aerobic capacity so you can work to build up your VO2 max. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. And give our heart the opportunity to stay at higher efforts for extended periods of time. So we increase the strength of our heart muscle as well. But anaerobic activity is where we improve our muscular capacity. And so the process of building up muscle in your body, in your tissues, muscles, is due to anaerobic workouts, high resistance workouts. And not only does that help strengthen muscle, but it also helps strengthen your bones. And again, nature implements a nice balancing act between the two, in that with improved muscle strengthening, you can go longer distances, go faster, increase your endurance and your capacity. At the same time, bigger muscles, stronger muscles, will utilize more fuel to fire them up. And so, again, the weight loss factor, burning fat, larger muscles need that energy more than smaller muscles. And so you'll burn more calories with better strengthening. You'll burn more fat with better strengthening. And overall, you'll feel better as a result. So we don't want to spend every workout that we do in the aerobic zone. Otherwise we defeat the purpose of strengthening our muscles and allowing ourselves to go to the next plane. And then at the same token, we don't want to do everything in the anaerobic zone. Because that just hurts. That big building in front of us is, well, it used to be the Hilton. It's now the Grand Sierra. Big casino. Driving range, go-karts, putt-putt, big swing, amusement park, little tiny one, and concert events all held there. And they actually host a race. Fat Tire sponsors a race out here, and the crit race goes around the parking lot. It's actually about a mile course. Lots of parking, and it's a fun event. In just a minute, we're going to go down under a bridge, and then it gets real steep right after that. And so we're going to put it in our big ring up front. We're going to drop it into a nice high gear and just grind our way to the top. So let's start getting ready for that. Big ring up front. As soon as we come out from under this thing, start clicking into heavy gear, just mash up it. Keep mashing. Keep going. Level it out. Start taking off some resistance. And slowing it up further. And easy gear again. So there's our 30-second anaerobic interval. Now let's bring it back down into the aerobic zone. Soft pedal. So a lot of you might have heard the term VO2 max. Basically, VO2 max is your maximum oxygen uptake or your max aerobic capacity. So it's the limit before your body goes anaerobic. And this is an important number, or an important concept to understand, because then we can strictly define when we're training aerobically or anaerobically. When we exceed our VO2 max, we're then anaerobic, and while we're in it, we're aerobic. A lot of professional athletes take this measurement to define what their capacity is and how they compare with other athletes in their class. And much like our heart rate, there's a cap to this, and it's also not a fixed setting. So typically, rule of thumb, your VO2 max will deteriorate at 1% per year of age. But at the same token, if you're starting out at a disadvantage with not a lot of aerobic activity, you're coming from a sedentary lifestyle and starting to get active after a long term of inactivity, then your VO2 max will definitely increase as your fitness increases. And so if you're just starting a routine, it's important to constantly monitor your max heart rate and where your VO2 max is. You may not be feeling too tired right now, but make sure you're drinking lots of fluid. Helps to improve your cellular respiration efficiency. The electron transport chain is lubricated. Going over the Truckee River here. And right in front of us is the Marin Independent Journal headquarters. So you may be saying, well, how do you find your VO2 max? And there's a lot of online calculators you might want to use. Ideally, you go into a sports therapy complex and have them measure it for you. That could be pricey and time consuming. So there's some nice guidelines on how to do it. You can go to my website, www.cyclingvideosonline.com, send me an email, and I'll give you the equation. Basically, the rule of thumb for finding that number, or VO2 max, is to walk a mile as fast as you can. Don't run, just walk. Then record the time that it took you to walk that mile. And then record your ending heart rate at the end of that mile. Rule of thumb says that your fastest walking pace, the heart rate as a result of that, is your VO2 max heart rate. And then you take the distance that you walked, your heart rate, and the time it took you, and you plug it into a formula, and out comes your VO2 max. Now, since your VO2 max doesn't change too much over the years, this could be a helpful number to have if you have it professionally measured. Get your VO2 max. And then factor in a 1% decline per year. And you can solve for your VO2 max heart rate. So you always know what heart rate you need to be at in order to be aerobic and anaerobic. And typically the aerobic zone is between 70 to 80%, and anaerobic is 80 to 100. But you know, these are just rules of thumbs, and like any rule of thumb, they're not precise. Your anaerobic heart rate may be at 85% of max, depending on your conditioning. Oops. Coming into downtown Reno. So each time you go into the anaerobic zone, you're burning that ATP, using that fuel, depleting your cells of it. And each time you do that, your body has an understanding, I guess. So off to our left here is the auto museum. It's actually pretty cool in there. There you go. And downtown. So your body has an understanding of what is required, depending on how long you try to sustain your anaerobic capacity. So you will increase your storage devices as a result of aerobic activity. So each time you train in the anaerobic zone, you'll become more efficient in the aerobic zone. Once again, balancing act. Up the ramp. First time I saw that, I was cracking up.
Only in Reno.
So let's really nice, easy, soft pedal through here. We're gonna bring our heart rate way down into zone 1 and just admire the views. And downtown Reno is actually kind of a cool looking place. They restored most of the stretch here when they did the river walk, and they built a kayak park, put up all these pretty flowers, bushes, trees, some outdoor coffee shops. Kind of neat. People are still kind of confused by it because, you know, it's like, do we go into the casinos or do we enjoy nature? Casinos still have a monopoly on Reno's activities, even though the city is trying to reinvent itself as a outdoor enthusiasts getaway, because there are some beautiful things to do outside, typically outside the city limits. The single track for mountain biking is some of the best I've seen in the country. And of course skiing up in the Sierra Nevadas, but most of that's in California. And then more single track up in California, and then you've got a track that goes around the entire Lake Tahoe, called the Rim Trail, very famous. But again, you know, about a quarter of that is in Nevada, and 3/4 of that is in California. So again, there's some confusion. Sorry, I'm being cynical. And pretty soon here, we're going to pick up the effort, increase our cadence and our resistance, get our heart rate back into the low 80s. And we'll finish off the ride with a nice brisk sprint. That was about a 10-mile stretch there. Alright, let's begin up the cadence, add some resistance. Let's let's just slowly work our way up to about 80% of max. Keep our cadence around 80 to 85. And now take some resistance off and drive the cadence up to 90. Again, let's focus on keeping our body still. Upper body shouldn't be wiggling. Shouldn't be trying to increase your speed with your head. It's all legs and tail. We're just going to slow down here for a sec. Checking back behind us, seeing where our friend is. But not there, so we'll regroup up ahead. Let's start laying on a little more speed. Keeping that heart rate up. It's not steep. It's a little ascent, little headwind. Usually we get them from the west. That cold air is rushing down the mountains. That's what always keeps the climate in Reno pretty nice. It doesn't get excessively hot. A lot of people think it's a desert, so it's like Arizona, but no. It stays pretty cool. The hottest summers, maybe 100 degrees, 105 at the most. Average summer, 90 degrees. Dry air, so it always feels cooler as evaporation is more faster. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people dehydrate out here. Got to take in fluids much more rapidly in a dry climate. But you can also ride in much warmer weather without getting too uncomfortable. Just pack lots of water and you'll be fine. Off to our right is still the Truckee Trail, but it's mostly a walking path at this point. And this is a nice road, so I prefer roads over trails. And out here there's some really cool condos off to the right. Balconies overlooking the river. And we don't get too many mosquitoes out here, so it's actually a good thing. And the river keeps it a little cooler. If you look on the mini map, you can see directly perpendicular to our position, the river elbows out, and that's where those condos are. They're for sale on my website. No, I'm just kidding. Well, we're going to rest up here and wait for our cycling partner. So if you want to slow up a cadence, rest up a bit, we'll lift it back up, do a short sprint, and then we're done. Well, I hope you got some good information. And I knew college would be good for something. All those engineering classes. And let's add some resistance here. Bring up the cadence. Let's get our heart rate up. 80%. Make a left turn here, up a short hill. Keeping our heart rate up to 81%. Let's hit 85% on this stretch here. Right turn. Let's up our leg speed. Keep our resistance up. Let's crank it out here. Big gear. Drive for the stoplight. Go, go, go. Don't get caught at the stoplight. Oh, bummer. Oh well. You take your resistance off, put it in a low gear, soft pedal, and let's recover our heart rate down to about 60% before we get off the bike. Here's your end credits. Franz's is awesome. So if you get out here, use this spot to start and stop your rides. Well, thank you for riding with me. I enjoyed it. Look forward to seeing you later. This is BitBop signing out.